What's up, addicts? Today we're going to be breaking down the Week 3 game between the Houston Roughnecks and the Tampa Bay Vipers, going over all the fantasy start sits in this one. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Anyway, let's get started right now. Alright guys, so definitely a very interesting game in this one. This is the first away game for the Roughnecks and also the first home game for the Vipers. So we'll get to see how these teams get to play, the Roughnecks on the road, the Vipers at home. Over-under in this one is 45.5, which is actually the highest on the week, and the Roughnecks are favored to win this game by 6.5 points. I still think that over-under might actually be a little bit too high. I think this will end up being a little bit more of a defensive battle. We'll get into why here in a second, but let's go through the different players of who we would start and sit in this one. Now, on the Roughnecks side, you got to stay in the flames with Walker, still got to start him. Tampa Bay is allowing the least amount of pass yards right now, but they haven't really faced a formidable foe yet. Walker will get to test how strong they really are in Tampa Bay's home opener. All right, on the running back side, James Butler continued his high touch volume dominance and scored another touchdown in Week 2. Tampa Bay has been playing pretty decent against the run, allowing the second least rush yards in the league, so his ceiling may be slightly lower this week, but he really hasn't been getting it done in terms of rush yards. He's been involved in the pass game, and he's been scoring touchdowns. And I also think this team is, deploying the run in a unique way in that they're setting up the run with the pass. So this will be a very interesting test to see how Tampa does. And then Nick Hawley, if he is listed as a running back in your league, definitely has a nice passing floor as well, is worth a flex in deep enough leagues. All right, on the wide receiver side, now Cam Phillips is probable, but he's been dealing with an ankle injury, so definitely something to keep in mind. But he leads the league in wide receiver fantasy points right now, mostly because of the 4 touchdowns that he has scored, but I doubt he finishes this year with 20 touchdowns, so we're going to see a regression at some point towards Khalil Lewis and eventually to Sammy Coates, but in this one, I'd still be comfortable starting Cam Phillips. Definitely want to start Khalil Lewis. Sammy Coates is more of a let's possibly wait and see and figure out once he gets his confidence back, then hopefully we'll have confidence in him as well. But for now, let's avoid Sammy Coates until he shows us that he can do what we were hoping that he could do. Now on the defensive side, Houston has played really well. They've been pressuring the quarterback better than any other team in the league. 8 sacks on the year. And multiple interceptions, no defensive scores yet, but look for that to change this week. This is a very strong week to start Houston against Tampa as Tampa's still trying to find their identity. Now on Tampa's side, Aaron Murray has already been ruled out again with that foot injury, so they're going to have to go back to the tandem between Taylor Cornelius and Quentin Flowers that looked pretty bad last week, to be honest. So I'm definitely not recommending any starts here for quarterbacks unless you absolutely have to. If you did have to, I'd probably play Cornelius over Flowers just based on that volume. Looking at the running backs, Devian Smith and Jacques Patrick are probably the best 1-2 punch in terms of running backs in the league right now. They've both been looking really good. The Roughnecks have given up the 3rd most rushing yards in the league. One of these guys will likely score this week. I highly doubt the Vipers go another week without an offensive touchdown. After 7 trips to the red zone, they're going to get it done, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was either Devian Smith or Jacques Patrick that ends up scoring that touchdown. So both of these guys are pretty decent starts this week. On the receiver side, Dan Williams looked good again against even considering the poor quarterback play. He almost had a touchdown that bailed you out towards the end of the game, but pass interference call on him. I'm not losing faith in Dan Williams yet. Reese Horn gives you a decent baseline. I'm not forcing him into my lineup, but I think that he could definitely have a decent game. And then SJ Green is the most risky play this week, but they did drop or waive Sean Jones once they traded for SJ Green, so he might actually be pretty involved this week. He could score a touchdown, so if you're looking for a flyer in DFS or just absolutely can't figure anyone else out, you could throw SJ Green out there. Now, I really love Nick Truesdale, but he's out this week. That was a surprise. He's dealing with a knee injury, and that's definitely going to throw some things through a loop. If you need a tight end, you could go grab DeAndre Goolsby, the backup tight end there. He had a catch last week. He looks okay. Definitely doesn't give you the ceiling that Nick Truesdale has, but overall, if you need a tight end and there's no one else on the waiver wire, you could do worse than grabbing Goolsby. And then from a defensive standpoint, you have to stay away. It's very hard to endorse any defense against Houston at this point with the way that Walker is putting up points. So avoid Tampa Bay's defense at all costs. All right, so in this one, I would definitely expect the Houston Roughnecks to come away with a win, but I do think it will be a bit closer than people are expecting. I think this will be the lowest scoring game for Houston thus far, but I don't think that they're going to need to put up too many points to beat the Vipers, who just haven't been able to get it done on offense. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my website at fantasyaddictionnetwork.com for all my rankings, everything that you need to maintain your fantasy league. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.